Hi, it's Datache, and as of now, I'm up to date with One Piece. Now, if you know the, notoriety of One Piece's length, it's quite the time sink. And I was always one of the people who thought it was too long to be worth watching. I originally got into One Piece with the live-action adaptation, which is genuine peak and everyone should watch. And then went on to watch the anime. Kind of. We'll get into that later. So what changed? Well, that's what I want to explore today. What made me and so many others fall in love with One Piece, and why did I let it ruin my life? I haven't talked to my family in 6 months. Well folks, raise your anchors and lower those sails and get ready to set a course for the Grand Line, as we set out in pursuit of the One Piece. So, some housekeeping before we really get into it. This video is going to have some visual spoilers for One Piece, as well as some info about some characters, but no explicit story details, and especially not anything relating to the current arc. Just be warned. If you're interested in starting One Piece after watching this video, I'll recommend some ways to check it out at the end, or you can try and do some research yourself. One Piece starts like all good stories do, with someone dying. Gold, Roger, wealth, fame, power, treasure, One Piece in that order. You've heard this introduction before. The late king of the pirates forges his legacy by proclaiming his ultimate treasure, the One Piece, has been hidden away in that place, the end of the Grand Line. This causes the Great Pirate Era, inspires a lot of people, starts a hell of a lot of problems, but ultimately sends the world into a frenzy. And of course, when discussing One Piece and its appeal, I think there's no better place to start than its world. One Piece is big, it's chunky, and split into 4 seas by the giant continental structure, the Red Line, and a strip of sea that wraps around the planet, the Grand Line. One Piece follows our main character, Luffy, and his pirate crew, the Straw Hats, as they travel across the Grand Line, the roughest sea in the world, to find the One Piece. Due to the harsh conditions in said sea, these islands have limited contact with each other, and thus culturally, geographically, and visually vary greatly. One island could be a desert kingdom reminiscent of Arabia, while others could be a jungle filled with giant animals and dinosaurs, or even floating in the sky. The Grand Line is a place where anything can happen. Anything. And it really fuels the sense of adventure that I'd say is one of the main themes of One Piece. It also varies the adventures our main characters go on, and even the genre. While at its heart One Piece is a battle shonen, and god, people on the internet won't let you forget that, it's not afraid to delve into different territory. It can be about a mystery or political intrigue if it wants to, or it can just be 20 chapters of Luffy barging through mooks like a freight train. Just part of One Piece's energy, I guess. I think this sense of variety can also be seen in One Piece's one and only power system, Devil Fruits. Chomp down on one of these biohazards and you get a unique ability, but also lose the ability to swim in a world that's mostly water. Oops! Our main character gets one that makes his body rubber, letting him stretch his body and Toei's animation budget. But these abilities can vary a ton, from transforming into monsters, turning your body to fire, or just vor. Just vor. Like straight up. Just like vor, the origin and prevalence of Devil Fruits is a mystery. And if One Piece has got a lot of anything, it's mysteries. It's an old world with a period in history that may or may not be being covered up, and with few people able to attest to what the truth of the world really is. There are remnants of events that have occurred throughout One Piece's world history that pop up frequently, not only adding to the depth of the setting, but making us question everything. It loves to leave us with questions. What do these hieroglyphs really mean? What happened 800 years ago? How was the world government actually formed? Are Zoro and Sanji fucking? What is the One Piece? But variety and intrigue isn't the only thing the world of One Piece has at its disposal. This is a world that is alive and breathing. On the seas of One Piece, there are pirates just like this scarred, straw hat wearing moron, who range from being equally stupid lunkheads to literal dictators, and are all constantly doing their own thing. Similarly, the Navy, or world government, or whatever derogatory term you have for cops, are also a present threat. They're always scheming, and we all see how they act in response to shifts in the world powers. They're fighting to enforce their justice and present a nice, overarching obstacle, separate from the rival pirates or whatever villain of the week our group is up against. There's a reason news queues are a recurring element in the story. This is a story where present developments are a lot larger than just the main cast, and decisions made from everyone can domino into large-scale conflicts in the story. I think one of the better examples of this is Marshall Datache, or Blackbeard. From as early as the second saga, we hear of him attacking an island, and we see the consequences of this in the shaken people not being trusting of our main characters. There's other characters trying to hunt this man down for unrelated reasons. Hell, he slips into an important position in the government at one point, before finally showing his hand in a later arc, and even then he's still brewing shit today. We don't know what his fucking deal is! It's been 22 years! From several years of content, we can determine the route he's travelled on the sea, and I really don't know how I feel about that. Now imagine this, but instead of it being a prominent villain, it is every character in the story. None of them are forgotten, ever. You wondering what happened to this gate attendant on Sky Island? No? She works at Alton Towers now. I wonder how that works out for her. This is what happens when you give a crazy man 25 years to tell one story. And with all of that being said, you may be asking, with so much going on all the time, what does the main cast of One Piece do to separate themselves in such a massive world? Well, to talk about that, we need a little bit of an understanding of the climate of One Piece's world. You see, amongst pirates and marines, while there's people who choose to use their abilities to do good, or at least improve people's lives, there's an equal amount who would abuse their power for their own self-gain, and everyone suffers for it. Amongst a sea of grey in the world's inhabitants, there's a stark amount who skew towards the darker side of things. It's suffocating. The world of One Piece is almost perfectly designed to trap its denizens. It's very difficult to travel, even outside the Grand Line, and travel between the blues might as well be unheard of. People are isolated. They're oppressed and alone. Which is why the choice to raise the Jolly Roger and to openly oppose the world government and form a crew means so much, especially to someone like Monkey D. fucking Luffy. And look, I know if you haven't watched or read One Piece, Luffy can appear like a really stock shonen protagonist. Yeah, come on, you know, he likes to eat, he loves his friendships. If he just believes hard enough, he can do anything he puts his mind to. Better believe it. But like, no. These elements are there, but I think this stuff has been parodied so far, we've kind of lost where that DNA came from. Oda was influenced by Toriyama, even studied under him. This is as direct a passing of ideas could be as opposed to a stock archetype. And besides, Luffy's a lot more than just that. Unfortunately, we don't have an hour to talk about this idiot. God knows what I'd do in that time. But there are a few things I want to say about him. One is that you will like Luffy. This is not a prediction, this is not a threat, it's just a fact. Everyone likes Luffy. And if you don't, you're almost definitely a red flag. 2, Luffy is more than just a dumbass. Like, he is one, but he's got a good read on people. And it's used in interesting ways. He's not perfect, but he chooses people to surround himself based on their strength of character. And it's used to heartbreaking effect. It's what separates him from some of the more jaded pirates we meet along the way. The opening of One Piece, the East Blue Saga, introduces us to a bunch of different pirates, and a consistent theme amongst all of them is how willing they are to throw away their crew to betray who should be their family or friends. And we see through his adventures, well, that Luffy's doing things the right way. And that mindset, that idea that people around you are disposable, well, it's sure to backfire. And 3, Luffy changes. There's quite a lot of people who believe the main cast of One Piece don't develop, which is just ostensibly not true. While I do agree that some characters have been shafted pretty badly, I'd never say that none of them have changed. Chapter 1 Luffy in the Barrel is a very different character to who he is now. He's met and experienced a lot of things that have shifted how he views the world, especially through loss. We get to see him become a better leader, and I think that's cool. There's this weird misconception that character development means a character must change radically personality-wise, like, they have to go from smiling to serious by the end of the story, and like, look, that is a type of character arc, but not every protagonist needs that. Luffy is an unimpeded will. He's someone who's stubbornly optimistic, and while I wouldn't call him a hero, He will move heaven and earth to help a friend out, and a force of nature like that is nothing you want to fuck with. That is to say, I think someone who can go through hell and keep that smile and laughter is a hell of a lot stronger than someone who can't. There's a reason why he looks far more like a vacationer than a typical pirate. He's someone in it for adventure, not for wealth, fame, or power. Searching for One Piece is a way for him to have his own ultimate adventure, going as far as to say he'd quit if someone spoiled him on what the One Piece is or tried to give him a shortcut to get there. And it's not being a pirate without your crew, your friends, your family, your nakama. Ultimately, the core of One Piece, the core of Oda's character writing, is the Straw Hat Pirates. It's a family of like-minded idiots. Legitimately one of the stupidest looking casts I've seen in recent memory, but I can only promise that you guys will be a ride or die for them once you get to know them all. As typical for Oda characters, they don't have drastic shifts in personality in the story, but they do have reasons for being the way they are that are explored by the story. Like the lengths Zoro is willing to go to achieve his dream and fulfill the promise to his late childhood friend. Or Nami's relationship with money generally appearing as a gag, but being recontextualized the more we learn about her past, as well as for the exceptions she's willing to part with money for. See, I'm being really careful not to go into specifics, because the more I say, the more I feel like I'm gonna take away from the blind experience. Like any Outer Wilds fan will tell you, dude, don't look anything up, just play it, man. Just play it. While I do have a great respect for Ichiro Oda, my lord is One Piece too long. I don't mean it in a memey way either, I just think some portions, especially in the second half of the story, are just criminally padded. If there's one flaw out of admittedly many I could point Oda out for, it is the unwillingness to kill his babies. Now before you say anything, don't worry, there's already the appropriate amount of infanticide in One Piece, but also, what I mean by that is, if there's an idea that Oda thinks is cool or will flesh out the world, he's too hesitant to cut it. And none of it is straight up bloat, but this is already a long story and I'd ideally like to finish it before I'm old and my ass is sagging. Which is why, when I recommend One Piece, the version is important. I have a lot of opinions about Toei Animation's adaptation of One Piece, and I could complain at length about how they sucked the melanin from my man, or how the whole One Piece woman thing, you know the thing, is mostly their fault, adding a bunch of weird shit that was not in the manga, as well as, exaggerating proportions. Straight up strapping cantaloupes to him, but that is beyond the scope of this video. All I want to make clear here is, the anime is a mess, read the manga, or alternatively, do what I did and watch One Piece. I don't know if I can share a link, not that it matters. I'm already attempting to make a One Piece video on the internet, which means Toei's gonna shove lightning up my ass, but a quick Google search should help you find it. It's a fan project that cuts down the anime's pretty abysmal padding and makes it closer to the manga. I used it for my watch through and could not go back afterwards. Either way, it's up to you how you choose to experience the story, and I think it's rude to enforce your opinion of the best version of One Piece on other people. Like, do whatever makes you happy, man, like, I'm not your mum. And I think that's the main essence of One Piece. This freedom with how you choose to engage with it. It's this multifaceted story with a lot of engaging attributes, whether it's its characters, world building, or artwork. There's something I think most people could find themselves attached to. And now is probably the best time to start. There's a whole bunch of adaptations of the source material now, including a new animated remake coming out soon, and a fun community to engage with as long as you stick to the right areas. So, no matter how you choose to engage with this story, I hope you can give it a chance. One Piece can seem very intimidating from the offset, but I promise you, if you pace yourself, it'll be manageable. Hell, it might not even feel like it's long enough. One Piece has ruined my life and taken up a crazy part of my brain, and somehow, that's for the better. I hope to see you out on the seas, but until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.